We're on section number 154, and we're looking at the scriptures from John 15 concerning the command to love one another. The command to love one another. And this is one of the great scriptures, one of the great concepts of Scripture for Christian love and how important it is. So we start with question number 872, and the question is, how should we love one another? How should we love one another? And this is going to be based on John 15, verses 9 to 13. It says, as the Father hath loved me, so have I loved you. Continue ye in my love. If you keep my commandments, you shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments, and abide in his love. These things have I spoken unto you, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full. Now this is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man should lay down his life for his friends. And the answer that we should have gotten was, okay, it is A, the way the Father loves the Son. Okay, now I have this note in the book. It says, there is no boundary with love. There is no boundary with love. There are, however, boundaries with discipleship. Okay, so that is a different story. Okay, because we love someone and want the best for them, we might have to work with them within boundaries, not spoiling them with whatever they want to have. Not spoiling them with whatever they want to have. And so that is a very important concept because this is the one that says, don't make yourself a doormat. Okay, so for B and C, with certain boundaries and limitations, or by giving each other whatever you want. So, well, like I said, there is actually no boundary with love. But with discipleship, we have to work with people where they are and what they need to have. Okay, so for A, we have the example. The example we have for that love is that of God the Father for his Son. When a person is saved, he has a new capacity and a kind of love that is divine because he is one with Christ. And that makes all the difference in the world. Can people out in the world who are lost love each other? Well, yeah, lost people can love, but it's not the same as having the love of God. Keep in mind that the love of God is infinite. The love of God goes beyond. Ultimately, what people will do is what's best for themselves. And so when we have a love for people for their salvation, it's automatically going to surpass that of people for the world, because I mean, how much can you love if you're lost? How much can you love somebody who you are letting them go to hell, or you're going to hell without them? Okay, what kind of love is absolutely that? So if you love somebody, if you're lost, and you look at people and you don't share the gospel with them, because after all, why would somebody who's lost share the gospel, right? They would end up contributing to that person going to hell. So right off the bat, there's a less love. Now, let's say you had somebody who was lost who did share the gospel. And that's actually a possibility. I mean, it's got to be extremely rare, but it is a possibility. But how much could you love them if you would have them go to heaven and you would end up going to hell? I've heard it said some advice that was given. Somebody who said, "Well, when they heard the gospel and they had a husband or a wife who had passed on already without Christ, and they said, well, I want to go and be with them, and I just can't stand the thought of them being alone there in hell, and so I don't want to become a Christian. I don't want to pray to get saved." That's what they've actually said. And the advice that was given them was, well, if your loved one is in hell, if they truly love you, would they want you to join them in hell? And the answer was, I suppose not. and so they would go on. I think it's still got to be tugging at your heartstrings, knowing that you're not going to be with your loved one for eternity. But I always point out that in the end, you will get it. You will understand God, and you'll be able to appreciate it. Not only that, but when you're in hell, you're not going to be with a loved one. Okay, when people are in hell, they are not going to be partying with each other. They're not going to, if your husband or wife were to pass on and to hell, and then you went down to hell also, you're not going to see them anyhow. So it's not like you have any excuse for wanting to continue in your rebellion for God. So right away, right off the bat, your love as a Christian, when you love with God's love, it starts off better already. And then, besides that, you have this true attitude of love. Anything else, you could justify that, well, it makes you feel good to want to do something for somebody else. So really, you're thinking about yourself anyhow. You're really not thinking about that other person. You're thinking about how good you're going to feel. Brother Joe.
Yeah, just getting back to your earlier point about being together with loved ones in hell. I mean, Scripture speaks against that, because the rich man that went to hell, what was his inclination? His inclination wasn't, oh, I can't wait till all my brothers get here. He was horrified at the idea that they were going to be there.
Yeah.
So people in hell would make the best evangelists.
Yeah, yeah. And
Pastor?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I prefer you to go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to add that the Lord actually gives us a little bit, a glimpse of what he goes through with us through the blessing of parenthood. When you become a parent, you want to give your kids the world. You want the best for them, and but at the same time, you don't even have to try. You're automatically protective, very protective of them.
Yeah. And
sometimes your kids could, when they're very young, could ask for something that's not very good for them, and you have to, no matter how it could crush you, not to give it to them. You have to judge and say, well, no, and you have to try to explain to them. So we can get a slight glimpse of what God goes through with us when we may want something that's not good for us or very unreasonable.
Amen. Amen. And then having the capacity that God has, this is what enables us to love our enemies, and we can really overcome an awful lot of things. And there are I think, just the natural inclinations of men, even when they want to try to love their enemy, it still is not the same as the kind of love that we have when we have God's love within us to be able to do that. Okay, Brother Tone, sure.
Can we use the imagery of the one that Jesus used when he was prophesying about the destruction of the temple in the 70 AD, where he said that he's like a hen that once he spread her wings and would wish that the Jewish nation would be under his wings, but they would not, he said.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of love that he has for, obviously in this case, it's for the nation of Israel as his chosen people.
Yeah. Yeah, and just in spite of the fact that they are refusing it, also. Okay. Question 873. Why do we keep God's commandments? Why do we keep God's commandments? And this is going to be based on John 15:10. If you keep my commandments, you shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. And so the answer for that is A, because we love him. Because we love him. Okay, it's not because of, as it says in C, because we want to deserve his forgiveness. Okay, whenever you put the word deserve and forgiveness together, they don't fit together. Okay, there's no such thing as deserving forgiveness. Nobody deserves forgiveness. Forgiveness is given by grace. So people at first try to earn salvation by keeping his commandments, but works do not save anybody. Okay, and for B, because we fear that what he might do if we disobey. Well, next, people will try to maintain God's favor by keeping his commandments, but perfect love casts out fear. 1 John 4:18 says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casteth out fear, because fear hath torment. He that feareth is not made perfect in love." Yeah, John 15:10. The last one I read was 1 John 4:18. Is that the one you were asking for, Nancy? Oh, okay, the other one. So it's John 15:10 for the question, and then 1 John 4:18 to supplement that. Now, God is worth fearing. Okay? It is a fearful thing, but we don't do it out of fear. We do it because of the love relationship. Having that relationship out of fear doesn't really make sense. If you took a marriage relationship and people were doing things out of fear, they just stayed with each other out of fear, you would say that's not a good relationship at all. But love will overcome all kinds of things like that. Brother Joe and then Nancy.
Yeah, I just wanted to add maybe a verse that would also apply here, 2 Timothy 1:7. "For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind."
Very good, yes. Okay, it's 2 Timothy 1:7. Nancy, yes.
Yeah, I was going to add a verse as well, John 14:15, where Jesus says, "If you love me, keep my commandments." And the kind of church that I was raised in, the system that I was raised in, we had so many things drilled into us daily, and it was a works-based type of religion, and we were always afraid not to do what was right. And it's the same analogy, like when you really love your parents, you don't want to disappoint them. You love them, and you don't want them to be ashamed of you. You want to make them proud. And if all you do is just have fear because you have tyrants for parents and there's no love there, it's just going to create a lot of rebellion, and you can't wait till you're free to get out of the house because you can't stand being oppressed by the fear of consequences and the tyranny. But when there's love, you just want to make your parents happy and proud. It's like when you become a Christian and you have the proper relationship with God and everything's not out of fear, you want to please the Lord. You just want to.
Yeah. You can look at it this way then also. Sure. If you're just having a relationship out of fear, it could keep somebody in line. Okay? And it is highly likely that it's going to lead to rebellion and somebody being driven away. But what if the person isn't driven away out of rebellion, but they're only having that relationship based out of fear? Well, they might be kept in line, but it's not going to draw them to the person. Even if we were happy enough to stay put, even if we lived in a fearful situation, and if we didn't rebel, I can't see somebody saying, "Oh, I think I'll go suffer some more abuse. I can't wait to expose myself to more abuse." So love is definitely the kind of love that God has. The Father for the Son really makes the difference. Okay, so and that And that's a better way to draw us to keeping God's commandments, is out of an appreciation for God and wanting to be drawn to Him. Okay, so when you look at A, because we love Him, well, our works are not linked to getting something from God, such as our salvation or maintaining God's favors. Our works are linked to giving something to God as an expression of our love. And I think that's an important factor here, because sometimes we say, well, how can we bless God? Okay. Let me make a note here. And it's not like we can actually give something to Him that He doesn't already have, but we can bless God by giving Him our will, by giving our willingness to Him, and we show that by keeping His commandments. So that's how we bless God. Okay, question 874 comes down to one of the greatest considerations. What is the greatest thing a friend can do for another friend? What's the greatest thing a friend can do for another friend? It's based on John 15:13. It says, greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. And so the answer is C, he will lay down his life for him. Okay, now when you look at he will spare him embarrassment by not telling him his faults. Okay, is that the greatest thing we can do, is to spare some people some embarrassment? Well, no, that's not necessarily the best thing in the world to do, because you're leaving them in their faults and letting them continue on to embarrassing themselves. Or he will help him with anything that he wants. That's another way. These are two popular conceptions that people have about showing love. They're popular but false views of what friendship means. And they are both based on merely catering to the desire of pleasing somebody else. And so friendship does not mean having no sense of boundaries. Like with B, giving them whatever they want. No. Having friendship does not mean having no sense of boundaries for what one is willing to do for somebody else. It leads to being taken for granted and being taken advantage of. It can lead to an unhealthy sense of self-worth, being dependent on the approval of others. If we feel like, I'm not loving if I don't give the people what they want, then really what we're doing is saying, well, what they think matters and what they think of me. I can't have them not thinking the wrong thing. Friendships know their general limitations in everyday life. And for A represents the opposite problem of B, in that it is friendship based on an unreasonable boundary. The one says no boundaries, and the other says, the one says boundaries, the other one says no boundaries. So it still involves a fear of what others think, but now it holds back on something that a friend really might need, which is honesty, what they really need. Okay, so for C, he will lay down his life for them. Laying down one's life for others might sound like not being able to set boundaries, but the boundaries we spoke of before have to do with everyday life. A true friend will be able to make the ultimate sacrifice when it's called for. What is interesting is that a friend will be selfless while working within the boundaries of what he can actually do for what his friend actually needs. It is in that context that one is able to make the ultimate sacrifice, because making the ultimate sacrifice is only when it's truly needed. Okay, not for day-to-day stuff. Day-to-day stuff, there are limitations that people need to have. And for the most important thing, that's when the boundary comes off in that way. Okay, question 875. How does Jesus treat us in the work of the ministry? John 15:14 and 15 says, "You are my friends if you do whatsoever I command you." Just checking on something here. "You are my friends if you do whatsoever I command you. Henceforth I call you not servants, for the servant knoweth not what his Lord doeth. But I have called you friends, for all things that I have heard of my Father I have made known unto you." And so the answer is
B.
It's going to be B, as friends who he shares the ministry with. When you look at A, as servants who don't need to know what his plans are, or as a master who will arbitrarily cancel him without notice. Well, for A and C, a master is under no obligation to consult with or answer to his servants, as in A. There's no obligation the master has for that. And he also has the right in C, as in C, to arbitrarily cancel an employee at any time. But God involves us more than that, as far as we're concerned. So when you look at B, as friends who he shares the ministry with, well, a good master does more than treat even his servants as mere assets for his use. You know, there was a time in America that people talk about where a person would go to work for a company, and they would go there and they would spend their entire lives for the same company, and they would get their pension at the end of that time. And in more modern times, workers are seen as more like machinery. Well, I'm hiring them for now, and when I don't need them, I just cast them off and won't try to find a way to do that. Now, that doesn't happen 100%, but there's more of a propensity for that to happen. Even though we actually are servants for God, in that he's still under no obligation to bring us into his work more intimately, he's still not, I mean, he's God. He's not obligated to do it. But as a good master, he does so treating us as friends, and a good employer is going to do that also. First, it's good for even servants to be aware of an employer's plans, because it will help them make correct judgments for adapting when plans don't go the way they were expected to go. So an employer should bring people into the circle of what they're working on. So it is a good idea. But secondly, a servant is not a mere asset that isn't given any consideration. Thirdly, even servants are given responsibilities and the power to make judgment calls. Because we know what God's plans are, we are generally able to do our job, even with a servant mentality, because servants are typically involved with making a way to carry out the plan. So the more a servant is a friend, the better it is for the work. And so we start off with as friends and not as servants who have to earn that consideration. God starts us off as friends automatically and trying to draw us in. Okay, question 876. How did the disciples become involved in the ministry? It's based on John 15:16. It says, "You have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you that you should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it you." So the answer is C, Jesus chose them. Okay, they didn't force their way into it as in A, neither did they have to earn their positions. So when you look at C, Jesus chose them for their work, indicating that they didn't have to go looking for him and applying for the job. He sought them out by his grace. Okay, nobody can actually force their way into God's work. Thankfully, God invites us into his work in general. We don't have to wonder if we can join in, but just how God is going to use us. I find this kind of interesting as I've gone on for years here with Nancy in the ministry and just working with people. When somebody comes in, I mean, we're so used to different people coming in and maybe sometimes unfortunately leaving, but we see people come in. And for us, it's just like, oh, okay, you know, more friends coming in. And it's something where you can tell. In fact, I was sharing this with somebody this afternoon in one of the membership classes for church here. I was just sharing how that you might feel like, oh, can I do something? And I don't want to impose. I don't want to insert myself into anything. And my response is, yeah, you know, don't even wait to be asked. Just join right in. If you see something, there's something needs to be swept up on the floor, you don't have to ask me if you can sweep it up. Just go ahead and do it. It's okay to do. But there's all kinds of things that we should just feel free to join right in. And I can understand when somebody's new and they're not sure what's acceptable and what kind of things they can do. Well, with God's work, he'll let us know when there's something that we shouldn't be doing and what we should be doing. But the fact of the matter is, you don't have to wonder if you're going to be accepted in the work. God will accept us in the work. Okay, for B, they had to earn their positions. Well, Jesus didn't make them earn their positions as if he would deny them if they were not good enough to make the grade. Remember that nobody's ever good enough for God's work, and that's why it's called God's grace, and that's why God makes his power known through us. That doesn't mean that our character and the talents we were given at birth are of no consideration. It's just that he has plans to definitely use us in some way, and so people should pursue being involved. Okay, number 877. What did Jesus ordain the disciples to do? And this is going to be based on verses 16 and 17. You have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you that you should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain. But whatsoever you shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it you. Verse 17, these things I command you, that you love one another. So what did Jesus ordain the disciples to do? Be both love each other and bear much fruit. Okay, so and so he didn't call us to be. He didn't call us, as in C, to manage each other's lives. Okay, when people come to church, that's one of the problems that people have sometimes is they're so filled with a sense of wanting to be right and to be holy and to get things right and to be righteous and to have God's righteousness, and they want the church to be that way. And so what they end up doing is they end up bossing each other around and being critical of each other and trying to control each other. Now, they don't intend to do that, I think. I think it's just what happens because they'll say, oh yeah, you shouldn't be doing that, or you should be doing this. Okay, we're not called to manage each other's lives. Now, we are called to teach each other. So it can also often look about the same, I suppose. But we're here to try to help people along. Not have people be extension of ourselves, but have people be fully functioning their own right before the Lord. Okay, so the very last command that Christ had for the church was to fulfill its mission. That was going to be his last command for the church. That's going to come up in Matthew 28. Although we are to manage the affairs of the church, the key thing that makes that phrase false in C is the idea of in A, manage the affairs of the church in his absence. The key thing that's false in that is the words in his absence. We should notice that our commission is about the church's relationship outwardly to the world. So we aren't managing each other's lives. We are not managing the affairs of the church in Christ's absence because he's here with us. But instead, we're supposed to be loving each other and bearing much fruit. So inwardly, then, according to B, within the church, Jesus gave this other command. This is for us personally. It's most interesting that among Christ's last words before going to the cross, there was much made about loving each other in this whole section. As we consider the outward effect of the love that they had amongst them, there's going to be much fruit because of that love. People are going to notice that loving relationship and just want to join in. John 13:35 says, "By this shall all men know that you are my disciples, if you have love one to another." Okay, let me ask any other thoughts to throw in. Yes? That was John 13:35. Okay, what we're ordained to do as disciples, as a church, we're ordained to go out to the world, but the command for the disciples amongst themselves was to have love for each other. And I think the reason that we want to especially make notice of this is that these are the last words, just like you would have, if somebody was dying, you'd say, well, what's the most important thing you want to make sure of? You're about to die. And so you're going to put extra weight on their last words. So the last words to the church was, go out to the world. The last words to the disciples amongst themselves was to love each other.